I want to tell all of you and anybody who's watching or listening, not surprisingly, a lot of the banks and the financial institutions are fighting this because they want to basically just go back to business as usual. They want to do the same things that they were doing. And you're already starting to see, some of these bonus payments coming out. It's like suddenly they've forgotten that we had to yank them out of the fire. And so it is very important that we get financial regulatory reform done. We're hoping that we can get it done early at the beginning of next year. But the banks are going to be pushing back. You're going to start seeing ads. In fact, I think they already started putting out the ads saying, well, florists and bakeries are suddenly going to be subject to financial regulation. Well, that's not true. That's just not true. But it's the same thing we're dealing with healthcare. The insurance and the drug companies start running millions of dollars worth of ads saying somehow that there's a government takeover of healthcare when all we're trying to do is make sure that if you're buying health insurance on the private marketplace that you're not getting gouged and gypped by the insurance company. So, all right? Okay, I'm going to take one more question from that gentleman back there because what happened was that he thought he had been called on and he felt bad, and it turned out this guy didn't really have a question. So go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Leonard Martin, and I'm currently a student here at LTRC. I'm also from the Army.
For the Army? Where?
I'm also discharged from the Army, sir.
Appreciate your service.
Yes, sir. 3 years. My question, sir, deals with the Veterans Administration. For example, this week, I've called them several times asking questions about the GI Bill. I'm eligible for the post 9/11 GI Bill, but I haven't gotten any benefits from them yet. And when I call them, they're often busy, and we get a message saying that we have to call back later on. Right. Sir, could you call them up and ask them and get more people to work with them? So,
all right. Well, first of all, we will get your name. You went straight to the top here, so I suspect somebody will be calling you on your cell phone in about 2 seconds. But more importantly, one of my commitments as president was we are going to whip the VA into shape because when our men and women are serving on behalf of all of us, we've got a solemn obligation to look after them when they come home. And this 9/11, post 9/11 GI Bill, I think, is a great example of it. My grandfather fought in World War II, and then he got his college education on the GI Bill. It wasn't just good for him. Because of that whole greatest generation going to college, that built our middle class. And all the things that we've been talking about in terms of science and technology and innovation and clean energy, all that depends on what happens in a place like Lehigh. Making sure that people are being trained and constantly upgrading their skills for the future. So that's what the GI Bill is supposed to do. Now, the VA, we've actually increased the budget for the VA by 11% last year, which was the largest increase in 30 years. And we'll be increasing it again this year because we think it's important to play some catch-up. Rick Shinseki, who's a great American hero and now the Secretary of the VA, one of his tasks is to upgrade a bunch of the old systems in the VA. The truth of the matter is, you shouldn't have to make a phone call. You should be able to get online. That would be more efficient. And what that tells me is, the fact that you're having to make the call tells me that we have not fully upgraded our information systems yet the way they need to be upgraded. But he is really working diligently. We had a lot of work to do on this front. The VA had been somewhat underfunded for a number of years despite the growing amount of demand caused by returning Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. We are, I think, going to get it in a good place by the time I'm through in Washington. But in the meantime, you'll, I promise, get a return phone call. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.